Afternoon all, it's Saturday the 13th of February 2021. Welcome to the video. Hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. So the stuff we're going to be looking at today is an update on the potential for domestic travel restrictions in the US. Also an update on the potential for COVID testing prior to stepping on a plane for domestic travel in the US. And then a look at the stats, the normal stats. So we're going to be looking at daily COVID cases in the US and Florida, the active cases now in Florida and the US, and also deaths in Florida and the US. Then we're going to look at COVID-19 vaccines administered already in the US up to yesterday, and when we might expect herd immunity. Then we've got some of the headlines from Walt Disney Company's first quarter 2021 earnings call from Thursday afternoon. We've got quite a few things to look at there, including attendance numbers in the parks, financial loss over the quarter, obviously there was a loss, how resort reservations are looking over the rest of the year, what will determine when Disney will increase capacity in the parks, and when masks and social distancing will expect to be got away from in the parks. We're then going to look at the reservation calendar for theme park ticket guests, reservations in resorts, and annual ticket holders, annual pass holders for the remainder of February, March and April. And lastly, we're going to look at the weather very briefly. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, helps me out a lot. And if you're old to the channel, please do subscribe if you're not already subscribed. At the moment, only about 10% of my views come from subscribers, so that would really help. You'll get this stuff a couple of times a week, and I'm hoping to be back in the parks very soon, as well as doing some restaurant and hotel reviews as well. Okay, let's get on with the detail. During the week then, I spoke about the potential for restrictions on US travel. The Biden administration has put a stop to that fairly swiftly, saying there are going to be no domestic travel restrictions, and that was followed up by White House spokesman Jen Psaki saying no decisions have been made around additional public health measures. So i.e. that means no COVID tests before you get on a plane. The White House said on Friday that it was not planning to require people to take COVID-19 tests before domestic airline flights. Jen Psaki said that reports there were not accurate. The CDC was saying that it's not recommending point of departure testing, whereas last month it said it was actively looking at expanding mandatory COVID-19 testing on domestic US flights, a change of tack there from the CDC. Nick Callio, chief executive of the Airlines for America industry group, obviously a big lobbying group there for the airline industry, said some kind of weaselly words that didn't actually mean anything. I guess he had a smile on his face when he was saying it because they'd got what they wanted, no COVID tests and no restrictions on any airports around the US. So let's have a look at the stats then. For US states as a whole, we had 100,288 new cases yesterday, slightly up, and there has been a trend a little bit this week of things going up. Florida, as you can see, there were 28,565 daily new cases. That 7-day moving average moving down pretty nicely, but under the blue line, the columns have gone up a little bit this week. It's not been particularly fantastic news, but let's see what happens next week. But it's good that that blue line's going down. Active cases in the US have started to go down. Just 9.5 million people, not just, 9.5 million people now infected, which was less than it was this time last week, which is really good news as well. New deaths are going down, 2,653 on the 7-day moving average as of yesterday. So moving in the right direction. And then looking at Florida, 7,617 cases yesterday, with Orange County 408 of those, and the usual suspects of Miami-Dade, Broward and Palm Beach accounting for the majority. Daily cases in the US moving down on the average. There has been some ripples. It's not been as even as the US total. That might be because of the UK strain in Florida. I'm not sure. There's not been any news on that, but moving in the right direction still. Active cases, again, not moving down as rapidly as the US in terms of that blue line going downwards, but it is, you can see that it is starting to move down now. 813,000 people currently infected in Florida, and daily new deaths 158, the 7-day moving average as of yesterday. And again, you can see that there have been a few ripples there. It's not been plain sailing, but hopefully they're moving down consistently now. Looking then at total vaccines distributed in the US, 69 million, which is way over those administered, so that's good, I guess. You know, if we're moving at 1.5 million a day and we're keeping up, we've got 20 million more doses than we can actually physically administer in each day. So 48.4 million administered as of yesterday morning. Okay, so big news then, I guess, is when are we going to reach herd immunity? So I'm reading now that this is now 70%, not 60%. So we're going to reach herd immunity when we get to 70%. This little graph here shows where we were in February, where we'll be in February, where we'll be in April, and then moving through 10, 20, 30 up to 70%. Now we're not going to get to 70% according to this until November the 26th. So this is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. This doesn't mean that we're not going to get international flights before 70% herd immunity is reached. Nobody knows exactly when that trigger is going to be pulled. I would think that the airlines are going to be baying for this come summer, but it looks like we're only going to reach 40% herd immunity by July the 12th, 2021. So I don't know where that's going to leave us. We also don't know when, we don't know what the update's going to be. You know, while 70% might be the trigger or the turning point for herd immunity, the Biden administration says now it's secured enough vaccine to inoculate every American adult. But likely most Americans won't have been inoculated by the end of summer. But there's also the issue of who wants to be inoculated. I'm reading that more than 50% of Americans don't want to be inoculated. So where's that going to leave things? If we're only ever going to reach 50% herd immunity, I guess we've got to return to normality at some point. So when is that point? So again, no news on that this week. I think it's really, really early for that at the moment, but I'm going to be following that through the months as we go on. There does seem to be an issue in having enough people to issue vaccinations as well. I still don't understand why we can't have the US Army or the US National Guard, who have trained medics, and they're issuing inoculations, I know, in other countries where they're situated, to the local population. So I don't know why that couldn't happen in America. There are plenty of medics in the US Army and plenty of medics in the US National Guard that could issue these inoculations. So I don't know why that's not being asked for. The department said Pfizer and Moderna would each provide 300 million doses by the end of July in regular increments. So that will be 600 million, and that's getting up towards the number of doses that we need to provide double dose for everybody in the US. Dr. Anthony Fauci commented on the issue with rural areas. He said we'll be reaching more and more of the population, and more of the population will have to make an effort to reach. So yeah, I guess as we get through, there's going to have to be an effort made by the people in charge to get out to those more rural areas to make sure that those people aren't missing out as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the Disney Company Q1 2021 earnings call. Several interesting points coming out of that. Average daily attendance then at Walt Disney World grew significantly from Q4 into Q1. Increased capacity that they've been able to achieve. They haven't said where they started. We're going to touch on where they are now, but if they've increased capacity if they've increased attendance due to increased capacity, that's news. Obviously they lost money, and they lost $2.6 billion over the quarter. So Disney will be looking to increase capacity, and we're going to touch on how that's going to be achieved. Daily average attendance has grown, and they've found innovative ways to responsibly increase capacity. I'm hoping that they're doing that in concert with Orange County and with the state of Florida as well. They're not just doing that by themselves. Per caps also up double digits year over year, so that's per capita revenue. So although they aren't getting the people through the gates they normally get, the people who are going through the gates are spending more than they have historically done. So a few questions then came Bob Chapek's way. What do we think about the parks through the rest of the year in terms of attendance? Bob Chapek, it's really going to be determined by the rate of vaccination of the public. So this is where the number of people being vaccinated is going to help out Disney and Universal and SeaWorld. So I would think that, you know, once we get to 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, I would think that Disney are going to be asking for an increase in their capacity, and I'm not sure how that's going to work in terms of social distancing, or, you know, whether they're going to introduce more virtual lines. But at the moment there are some significant lines on the rides that people want to get onto, you know, their A-list rides, and that's going to only increase if they're going to increase capacity without doing anything to stop that. They've also talked about the number of reservations in the Disney resorts. They're looking good for the rest of the year. And they've also asked a question about attendance and how it relates to capacity. So if we allow 35% capacity, is that 70% of attendance? Now that really wasn't answered, that question. I guess Chapek either didn't know the answer or didn't want to answer. But he said that they are currently operating at 35% of capacity. They don't normally give that figure out, so I'm pleased they did. It's good to understand where they are right now, but they haven't really said how they're going to get past 35%. And then somebody else asked a question on the parks. When are they going to get back to 2019 revenue, so pre-COVID? Bob Chapek didn't say that it was going to be by 2022. He actually said it was going to be at some point by 2023. That's the number I've heard. It wasn't said in this call, but that is the number I've heard. So we should expect to get back to normality, at least in terms of Disney, by 2023. So Dr. Fauci has said he hopes that there's vaccines for everybody who wants them by April. It doesn't appear to be that's the situation. It seems to be by summer. But in terms of when are masks and social distancing going to be stopped, Chapek said that appeared to be in 2022. He didn't say when in 2022, but again, more normality will return to Disney, it appears, sometime in 2022. So getting rid of masks and the 6-foot social distancing, and that's going to be really good news as well. Okay, so looking now at the availability, park availability, bearing in mind that it's President's Day on Monday the 15th, so that's this Monday, there is a bit of a spike, and I've taken the highest spike, if you like, on the 16th. I don't know why it's not the 15th, and I don't know why there isn't no availability on the 14th, but there is. So Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios for day ticket holders on the 16th is the pinch point there. Same for Disney Resort guests on the 16th, Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios. And then on the 15th, for annual pass holders, it's going to be Epcot and Disney's Animal Kingdom. In March, we've got Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios is the pinch point on the 15th. And for Disney's Resort guests, sorry I didn't take that, but I guess it's going to be around the same time. And we can see that there is a lack of availability on several days in March. And then for annual pass holders, free and clear, no problem for annual pass holders in March. Looking at April then, and April the 4th is Easter Sunday, so there is going to be additional people coming in, you know, from Thursday, it looks like, right the way through to the 8th, and I wouldn't be surprised if the 9th gets some unavailability as well. I've taken the first, and that's Hollywood Studios, not available to theme park ticket guests, so day ticket holders on the 1st. Ditto for resort guests on the 1st, but annual pass holders free and clear. Don't forget that there are no new annual passes being given out at the moment, so they're unavailable to purchase right now. So people who give up their annual passes, there are no new passes being given out. And then finally, the weather for the next 10 days, looking pretty nice except for Saturday the 20th. Friday the 19th, the night time is going to be fairly low temps, but apart from that, getting into the 80s and upper 70s. So that's it for the news for today. I'll be back on Wednesday. Stay safe until then, stay well, and I'll see you then. Cheers for now. Bye bye.